All right. How's the panel doing this morning?
Great. How are you?
You energized?
Yes. Good.
All right. Rebecca, panel, I'm going to have you start. Share a little bit about your background and your role with UNO at the Beach with the audience.
Oh, thank you. Again, Rebecca Conwell. I'm president and CEO of the UNO Research and Technology Foundation that owns and manages the only region's, I guess I always leave this out and get in trouble, University Research Park. I have a pretty eclectic background that intersects, I would say, government affairs, that intersection between academia and industry. I've had several years in economic development, and when you put them all together, I think it's the perfect combination for taking on new projects that, for me, was new energy. I love the job that I have now. I think it takes everything that I've done in my past professionally and puts it up in a nice little bow. The research park was created as a public-private partnership with the University of New Orleans. We work very hard to take our tenants, we have about 40 tenants, but also aligning with economic development priorities for the city, region, and state, which surprised us with new energy. It wasn't on my radar when I came on board 4.5 years ago. It became a priority very quickly. So I'm very excited to be part of this conversation.
All right. And Stephen, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and your charge or your charter for what you're going to be doing with NSF Fuel?
Great. Thank you, Kimberly. So I think I'm on week 4 with Fuel. So it's a new venture for me, but it's great fun. Past 20 years, I've been with Nexus Louisiana, which is an entrepreneurial support organization focused around technology companies in Baton Rouge. And so this opportunity came up, and the title is Director of Technology Commercialization. And I was talking with Mike and with Andy about that. I was like, what does that mean? What does that mean? What do you want from me? And they said, we need to take the innovation that's happening in our universities' labs and that's happening in our garages, get them out on the street and get them commercialized. I was like, okay, let's do it. And so it's been 4 weeks of great fun, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Great. Anna, please tell us a little bit about your role as a director at the LED and some of your background.
Sure. Good morning. I'm Anna DeTige. I am the Director of Innovation Capital at Louisiana Economic Development. I am the first Director of Innovation Capital, working alongside to support my boss, Josh Fleig, the Chief Innovation Officer, the first innovation officer this state has had, and I am also in his stead today. So you have me talking about innovation capital. And what does innovation mean at the state level? For us, it means access to capital, services, commercialization and corporate R&D, as well as marketing and promotion. So think of us as filling the top of the funnel as best we can, and then being a matchmaking resource or even a concierge, I think, to support the type of work that you guys are doing here. Oh, in my background, I came from the VC side. I was working at the New Orleans Startup Fund doing early stage pre-seed, pre-revenue investing in local companies. And I feel like what my role is now at the state level is just drawing on that experience and making sure that we're pulling all of our resources and talent. And
so your role and Josh's role, they're both new at the state level.
Yes.
What prompted that? I'm curious.
I think it's a tipping point. You were just talking about that,
Yeah.
and I feel really fortunate to be on board at this time because it is a new administration from top to bottom, and it is so energizing, and there's so much energy in the building right now, working to change things and drive forward, like meaningful progress, not tentative anymore. And I think it's neat. So I think it's a lot less resting on our laurels and comparing ourselves to peer states and saying, hey, wait a second. Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, they're kind of kicking our butts, and there's no reason for it. Companies and industry want to be here, residents want to be here. If we can get out of our own way, we can really be competitive. And that's the general attitude.
I love that. Leaning in on innovation, being new to New Orleans a couple years ago. In my inaugural position here at Tulane University, it's really great to see that kind of support happening at the state level. So the first question, first let me, for clarification for those of you who weren't here yesterday, the technical research focus areas for NSF Fuel include reduction of industrial carbon emissions through carbon capture, usage, and storage, sustainable industrial hydrogen economy, sustainable water management for innovative energy and hydrocarbon transition, structural integrity and sustainable manufacturing for energy and hydrocarbon transition, and then, of course, as Dan was mentioning, policy, economic and policy research to inform and promote pathways for decarbonization. So the first question is for you, Stephen. Tell us a little bit about technology commercialization and the role that that has in NSF Fuel. So there's use-inspired research, technology development, workforce development, and you're leading that effort for technology commercialization.
Right.
So
Yeah.
what's some of the first things you're thinking about doing in your strategy?
Yeah, great question. First of all, what we're trying to do with fuel is not put us, Louisiana, where we haven't been before. Senator Andrew mentioned last night that the first offshore oil well was in 1946, was off the coast of Louisiana. We're just trying to get us back to where we were back in the 40s and 50s and innovate. And fuel is a great tool to do that. And I can say that because I didn't have any role in writing it. I inherited this great tool, which is fuel. And the great thing about fuel, as well as Kimberly mentioned it, is we have over 50 partners around the state. And those people aren't just logos on a website. Kimberly, you're on our direct technology commercialization committee, and every other week Kimberly is on there. And not only is she on there, she's very active. And we're here today because of your actions. And we've been all around the state, and we have great champions just like Kimberly. And so first of all, thank you for that.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
But I see in the audience a lot of partners out there as well that have been part of this. And so that is very important. 2 weeks ago, Greg Upton, who's the director of LSU Center for Energy Studies, had an international economic conference at the LSU Union. Over 200 energy economists were there. And Greg said that they came to LSU to see what we were doing here in the Gulf Coast. He was saying those individuals are wanting to see what we're doing. A year ago, he was in Saudi Arabia, and someone was talking to him, and people came up to him and wanted to talk to him because they found out he was from the Gulf Coast. He was telling us that, like, people had their eye on us. This is a great place to be right now, and the energy's there. There's a lot of components to it. So, and I know you mentioned the areas that we have. Fuel Louisiana mentions those if you didn't write them all down. But yeah, but it's a great, we're at a great point here at the crossroads of doing something great. And I think it's not that we're getting ready to do it, we're doing it. It's happening today.
All right, my next question is for Rebecca. You have extensive experience in economic development and in Louisiana. So can you reflect on a moment what you've seen? We talked a little bit in the green room about where we were and where we are today and why you're so excited about that. So offer up the perspective there to the audience.
So thank you. You know, everyone who knows economic development knows it's a team sport. I mean, it's very basic level. Economic development is about creating an environment where our citizens thrive and businesses want to be. And so when you think about what it takes to evolve an economy and to want people to relocate here, you have to look at your assets. And New Orleans and the southern Louisiana and the state of Louisiana certainly have many of those resources. I like to think about the spirit of entrepreneurism that has been established and has been growing and planted over the last 20 years. But when you think about the role of future energy, and you think about what has already been very well established, that Louisiana is an energy state. And with that comes many legacy assets, not only in physical infrastructure, but also the assets that come with our universities and colleges and universities who have taught around the basics of energy. So as we transition into this new level of resources that we're going to have, when you talk about offshore wind and hydrogen and solar, it's a very natural place to be. I love what Future Energy did in the H to the Future grant. I've spoken frequently about the spirit of collaboration that we used to have. It was attempted, I'll say 20 years ago, with some of the earlier grants, the federal grants that would put people together, but there was a learning curve involved in that, and I found anyone who ever experienced any of those early grants know that while they asked for partnerships and collaborations, it really pitted people against each other and who was going to be the lead and who was going to have more resources. The types of grants that are available now are fantastic because they introduced industry to the problem. And so when you have industry and academia working together and multiple universities, the spirit of collaboration is stronger than it's ever been. It's especially the H to the Future grant is, kudos the way it was constructed because it's bringing people to the table that have never been brought to the table and certainly weren't at the table at the early stages of oil and gas. It's very diverse. We have small businesses. We have DBEs that are participating. We have this spirit of entrepreneurism. We're encouraging people at the very early stages of their ideas to not only step into this space, but we're showing them how to do that through many of the components.
I want to double click into H to the Future for a moment here. So how do you define success for that initiative?
That's a great question. We want to see all of the partners get to the finish line, and what does the finish line look like? It's creating a larger inventory of new energy. For example, it seems that it's very basic. If someone is working on a hydrogen project through this partnership, we want to see that hydrogen evolve to the point where it's able to be commercialized at a level that's affordable, because we all know new technology is very expensive. So you need that long runway to be able to get it out to the market. So I would see also success. Personally, would be establishing this legacy for the state of Louisiana and for the future generation to be able to follow and be part of.
Yeah, your comments made me think about the length of time it actually takes to commercialize when you're talking about basic science versus applied research and kind of linking all of those steps together. And typically that can take 10 or more years, right? And so the beauty in what these two initiatives do is hopefully to accelerate that process through the partnership, but also having evidence-based and informed decision-making at the front end where we are really thinking about where pain points are in the world related to energy development, and our scientists and our industry and all of us within that network are actually working together to move the innovation through the pipeline to accelerate that effort, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask the next question to Anna. Tell us about the plans for LED to support the future of innovation in the state of Louisiana. We know you're new to your role,
yes,
but tell us what you've been a part of in terms of developing strategy and share that with the audience.
I am so glad that you asked that. We are developing a strategic plan as an agency for the first time in 16 years. Yes, so it's been almost 2 decades since we've had a roadmap about where we're going, which I think when we can produce that, identify what our strengths are, where we want to go, that signals to people that on the outside that we're serious, we're here, and they can envision their future with us as well. And I think that's tremendous. And then on my little level, we're talking about, well, where is the capital going to go? You know, we're co-investors in several funds across the state, but what's our plan for that capital when it comes back to us? That's the sort of strategic planning and foresight that we need to continue to establish a legacy of venture capital in this state as well as innovation.
So I'm sure everyone on this panel would love to participate as a sounding board for what should be in that strategy to invest in innovation. Give us a call.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So the next question is for Stephen. So I want to know, as we are thinking about being the global energy transition leader in technology development, I know recently we have launched the proof of concept. So we're actually funding technologies now.
Right.
Up until, I think, Sunday,
deadline's
applications
Sunday
closed.
midnight, right.
Right. So can you give the audience a sense of what we're seeing in terms of what technologies are ready or asking for funding? Maybe just one, just to give us a sense of,
Yeah.
You're early in your role and
Right.
this is a new initiative, but kind of give them a feel for what's going on.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So first of all, let me give a little background on the Proof of Concept Fund, and I did mention this last night, but the Proof of Concept Fund is important to try to get these companies, early stage companies, to the next level. And the cycle of funding a startup is friends, family, fools, and then there's this valley of death. And then after that is where you come in with professional funding, whether it's Boot 64, Innovation Catalyst, the Hackett Group, all the SBDs.
Or Tulane Ventures.
There it is. Almost like we rehearsed that. But in my 20 years of working with startups, there's always been this lack of funding there. And it's important in all ecosystems to have this Valley of Death fund. And so the Proof of Concept Fund is the Valley of Death fund. And I know the marketing people are saying, okay, we need to work on that language, but that's what it is. Because what it's built to do is non-dilutive. It is a grant. And I say this
Up to 200,000.
Up to 200,000. It's anywhere from $100,000 to $150,000, maybe up to 200,000. And it's there to get you to the next level. It's there to super boost you 12 months, 14 months. Not in our, and Mike is in the audience. If I don't say this, he's going to throw his coffee at me. What we're using as barometers, not for fuels funding, you wouldn't be able to do this. And that's so important because like you were going down, it can take a while, but we're here to super boost that. And that's what the Proof of Concept Fund is for. And so go to fuellouisiana.org, and the applications close at midnight this Sunday.
All right, thank you for that. And the next question is for Rebecca. This is about Louisiana products and solutions to market. How does industry play a role in getting the innovations to the market?
I love this question. So a profit. There's nothing that will get technology to market faster than the opportunity to make a profit. I'll state the obvious that the reason academic institutions are so important in federal funding is that innovation takes place way before it becomes part of anyone's radar. And that's true for new energy, right? We have people who've been passionate and focused on this for a very long time. So we're not like caught flat-footed and all of a sudden, oh, let's go to market. No, we're throwing in industry now. One of the things that happened shortly after I got the job is the announcement of the leases. Thousands of acres of water off of our shores was going to be available to develop for offshore wind. And without any warning, all of the top engineering companies in the world focused and interested in offshore wind was knocking at the beach's door asking about, well, where do we fit in all of this? Where does the University of New Orleans fit? And so we went to work very quickly through these conversations to identify the assets available at the university and realized through the legacy assets of the oil and gas industry, we, along with many other universities in the state of Louisiana, had everything it takes to be able to jump into this space. And so when you think about the fact that we already have innovation in our academic institutions, we had billions of dollars plus thrown into the market through the Inflation Reduction Act that really created, heightened and fast-tracked a market that was available to incentivize people to step into it. Because again, when your technology at the very beginning is so expensive, there's no place in the market for it to fit. But when you drop billions of dollars in tax incentives and also grants to inspire innovation, you alter that market considerably. And then when you layer on top of that mandates for climate reduction goals at the national and local levels, you've really kind of created an atmosphere to inspire people to run to run to this space to innovate. At the University of New Orleans and the Beach, we worked really hard to start looking at how we can think long-term. Our engineering companies were saying, what does the pipeline look like? So if you're gonna be legit in this space, you can't just be focused on the product that's going to market. You need to be thinking about who's going to be filling these jobs. And so again, we went to work with the industry to inspire and create industry-fueled academic experiences for the students, so that they would know everything that the industry wanted them to know when they got out, by aligning curriculum appropriately. We're really excited about projects like KidWind, where we're going to be teaching the teachers in partnership with KidWind to make sure that we have this long-term investment and that the industry knows that we're serious about this. I mean, this is really at the very core of economic development, is to have all of these pieces in place. So as we start thinking about how these innovation gets to market, it's there, it's ready to go. It's just how fast can we do that? And the exciting piece, when you bring academic and industry together and you take students and you give them an experience to innovate, the innovation process is workforce. It's integrated into the workforce. So we're literally hiring people that have the innovation experience, and they're ready to implement all of these new technologies once they hit the market.
I love that. So Anna, so my next question for you is, tell us what the state is thinking about in terms of investing in energy initiatives.
Okay. Thank you for that. So as I understand our role at LED, our Office for Innovation is going to make a much more concentrated effort to bring forth corporate R&D. Higher ed in Louisiana is actually a great producer of research and development and commercialable technologies. However, we're stalling out, and I bet both of you could tell me all the reasons why. We're going to get down to why and removing those roadblocks. I think that's what we can be most effective at. We're not going to be the experts. We're not going to be the ones that are generating the intellectual property that drives things forward, but we can remove the barriers that prohibit it. Mm-hmm. That's what we want to do. We want to make this, we want to create an environment that is really attractive for industry to locate here, to create incentives packages that reward research that can take a long time. It's a long game.
It is a long game. I will give a discrete example. I'm a huge fan of the new LED leadership. We worked on a grant with Lafayette, Baton Rouge, and New Orleans, and it's an EDA grant to develop sort of a flywheel to support really early stage commercialization efforts. Stephen talked about the Valley of Death. This 9-partner effort was really to model for bio and for energy how we might at the state level support these early stage funding opportunities, and Josh Fleig stepped up and provided funding to match, because EDA grants are 1-to-1 match. So of course we have to always beat Texas because they're in our region for EDA grants, but it was really a great process to watch everyone come together and the state step in. And in the letter of support, they said that if we were to win it, and at the term, to make it sustainable, that there would be a line item budget at the state to invest in these early stage companies, 40 of them annually. And so I thought that deserves a huge applause, because we've never done that in the state of Louisiana. So yay, LED.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank you.
Yeah, because all of that
take back.
matters. When you have people that see that kind of vision and understand how challenging it is at those early stages, it really does take a village. And our community in Louisiana has come together on numerous things, including this recent example.
I think the new LED, the attitude at the new LED is really, how do we get to yes? We want to be a partner. Mm-hmm. And also recognize through a lot of introspection and just generally having even been on the other side of it, we haven't always been a great partner, and are really serious about changing that.
Well, we
Well,
are seeing that every day.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize too. I know we say that fuel is an NSF created entity, and it is, but it wouldn't happen without state support. The state has supported this entity from the beginning and through 2 administrations, especially this current administration. We've had several meetings with Josh, and the state is behind what is happening here because they see everything that's happened. It's H to the future, it's fuel, it's what's happening here at Tulane, it's what's happening at Louisiana Tech, and LED is a part of that, and they support that. So, thank you.
Well, I think that through this NSF grant, the nation is watching us. We are the only one focused in the domain of energy, and there are only 10 engines, and it's one of the largest grants ever given by the National Science Foundation. Right. So, no pressure.
Yeah,
Mike,
not at all.
Mike, Lacey, Stephen, yeah, there you go. All right, so we're winding down here on time. I wanted all of you to respond to this next question about the audience getting involved. We talked about it really taking a village, and so to be truly transformative in the energy ecosystem that we're trying to build here or continue to build on in Louisiana to be a global leader, how can they help? Who wants to take this question first?
Oh, please. Let me.
Please.
The more you learn, the easier it is to find your place in this pathway to being part of the new energy movement. Education is key to this. You know, when I call it cocktail conversation, when someone knows just a little bit about the subject, they tend to throw up the roadblocks that they see preventing this from moving forward. It's too expensive. You know, it'll never happen. It's Louisiana. And I find that the more you learn, the more exciting it is to see this coming together. If there's places in this movement for businesses and accountants, salespeople, and they need installers and maintenance people, and we just started focusing on a supply chain addition to our curriculum at the University of New Orleans that's super important to making sure that this works smoothly. So again, I think at the core of this is learning where you can fit.
I would say if you're a student out there and you think you want to be an entrepreneur, do it. You have the resources here to do that. If you're an early stage company or maybe even a latter stage company, get in touch with us. We want to work with you and help you move forward. If you're part of industry, we need you desperately to help our companies go forward as well. And then investors, we also always need investors. So.
It gets down to money every time, right?
It always comes down to money.
That's it. Just cut us a check, please.
That's right.
I think I would only expound on what both of you have said about finding a place for yourself here. It doesn't have to be that you studied a specific track. I think go have very broad experiences, but notice the patterns that link them together, and bring it back. Don't keep your ideas to yourself. It can't grow in a vacuum, and there are so many ways to bring things to fruition. Rebecca was saying education is really important. I think that's really true. I think cross-disciplinary studies is underappreciated sometimes because we can't always see the path forward in order to bring ideas from the bench to the marketplace. And just taking one entrepreneurship class so you understand how you might bring an idea into the world and form a company and what an investor might look for. And that might not be a VC shark. It might just be a banker that is gonna issue you a line of credit. There's a lot of ways to think about yourself as a participant in this way, whether you're on the industry side or a consumer or a producer of it. We're all in this together. So find a place for yourself and don't discount yourself. I think that's something that's that can be easy to do. Like either you diminish what you're bringing to the table or discount it like, somebody else has got this. No, bring it, we need it. That's what I would say. That's my advice.
All right, and I'll just chime in quickly here. as I'm building our startup called the Tulane Innovation Institute, some of the gaps that I've noticed is just being able to have enough mentors, right? And so these early stage technologies need expertise in the development. And so if mentoring is something that you're interested in, please contact us, because we're helping to support the proof of concept through the Technology Development Committee, and we need to make sure that enough people get that kind of support. I would also say we're creating an investor network. You mentioned that.
Right.
That's critical. Knowing the stages of funding for the different levels of development is going to be key for these kinds of technologies, and so we will help to coordinate that as well. And then finally, we're building an incubator, and so much like what UNO at the Beach has for H to the Future, to be able to support these things. That's not going to happen in year one, but ultimately, I think those are things down the road that we're looking forward to, and we need the audience's support in developing those and making sure that they're world class. To be a global leader, they have to be world class, and again, we need your input and insights. So we have a couple minutes left for a question or two from the audience. If we have a question, Wrangler.
We do have time for just one question. In what ways are LED, Fuel, and the Beach working together in the entrepreneurial ecosystem? And are there specific priorities that you're collaborating on?
I guess it makes sense for me to start this
Yeah.
one. Okay. I know Josh has been integral in working with both of you,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I would probably actually look to you to tell me exactly what our specifics are. But you touched on it earlier, just providing matching funds. So we might not always be the most visible player, but we want to support what you're doing. We recognize the impact and just the sheer volume of it.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that for us, partnerships, and we say that a lot, and sometimes it's just a word on a brochure and things like that. But if you look at the work that's been done for Fuel for the past 2.5 years, and the great work that UNO has done, Tulane has done, LED has done, it's just, it mirrors what's happening with Fuel H to the Future. And so I think we were talking in the green room, once upon a time, we were trying to say, okay, no, this is mine. No, oh, I want that too. We're starting, we're developing lanes, and it's like, okay, Rebecca's doing such and such. I don't need to do that. Let's let Rebecca do that and be good at that. I'm going to do something else. And I think you're really starting to see that.
Yeah. I'm kind of repeating myself. I think that the way that the H to the Future grant and the Fuel grant was designed was to collaborate and bring everyone to the table. For us, it's given the opportunity, right? Who are our faculty that have something that's relevant to these projects, and making sure that they have everything they need to be supported and successful.
I'll just chime in really quick, because I was a part of the NSF Fuel development process in terms of the collaboration, but it has a very sophisticated governance structure, and everyone has a seat at the table. And I think that's what minimizes some of the internal competition we've seen in the past, is because everybody is aligned for the strategy to support energy innovation development. And so we all sort of fall to our strengths and being able to support that.
Yeah.
So an example of that, a discrete example of that might be our School of Professional Advancement didn't have a seat at the table at Fuel, but through me and through other people at Tulane that are involved in the committees and understanding what the goals are, we can run back to our organizations and say, hey, this is a focal point, and how would we do that? How could we support that? And so that kind of connective tissue is second to none, because I think we are all aligned at Louisiana being that global leader, and we all bring different strengths to the table.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Well said.
Yeah. Amen.
Okay, well, with that, we're going to close our panel. Thank you, the audience, for taking a moment to listen to us. I hope you're as excited as we are about what is before us in terms of putting forward a lot of effort in developing innovation here in Louisiana. And thank you to our esteemed panel.
Thank you.